There are moments in life when silence speaks louder than 1,000 words. Moments when your stillness carries the weight of your strength. Moments when the world doesn't see the battles you fight, but the universe. Oh, the universe knows. Dear Cancer, you have been called emotional. Too soft, too quiet, too much. And sometimes, not enough. You've heard people say that strong ones are bold, loud, and fearless. But what if I told you your quiet heart holds more power than any roar? You see, strength is not always thunder in the sky. Sometimes it's the gentle tide that keeps returning, no matter how many times it's been pulled away. It's the stillness after the storm. It's the breath you take, right before deciding to try again. This journey is not about becoming louder. It's about realizing that you don't have to be loud to be heard by the soul. You don't have to harden to survive. In today's message, we'll dive deep into the silent force that lives within you, Cancer. The power that doesn't demand attention, but changes everything it touches. Let's uncover the quiet fire, the sacred softness, the ocean of feeling that holds galaxies of power inside of you. Take a deep breath. Feel your heartbeat, because today, you are about to remember who you've always been. Do you remember the first time you held your own pain in silence? No one saw the tears. No one noticed the shaking hands beneath the calm smile. But you stood there, heart open, breaking, and still loving. That was strength. That was sacred. They say the strong ones speak up, but no one talks about the ones who listen first, who absorb everything, the moods, the wounds, the weight of the room, and still offer peace. Cancer, you have always been that person, the healer in the shadows, the quiet protector, the one who notices when someone's voice cracks, even if they pretend it didn't. You carry the emotions of others as if they were your own, not because you're weak, but because your soul is wide enough to hold them. That is not a flaw. That is divine capacity. The moon rules you, and just like her, you don't scream your power. You reflect. You illuminate. You pull tides. You move oceans without a sound. Isn't that beautiful? To be so powerful, yet so gentle? Even when you feel invisible, even when they overlook the depth of your love, the universe sees you. Your quiet strength has held families together. It has soothed aching hearts. It has whispered hope to those on the edge. You don't need applause to validate your worth. You just need to remember, you were never meant to shine like lightning. You were born to glow like moonlight. And that is more than enough. Cancer, do you know what makes your strength even more sacred? It's your intuition, that quiet inner knowing that speaks to you when the world becomes too loud. You feel the truth in a room before a single word is spoken. You sense the energy shift in someone's tone, even when they're smiling. You are ruled by the moon, the keeper of secrets, the mirror of emotions, the gentle pull beneath the surface of all things. While others chase logic and certainty, you sit beside the unknown and listen. And somehow, you understand, not because someone taught you, but because your soul remembers what their minds forgot. This is why your advice heals, why people find comfort in your presence. They may not always be able to explain it, but they feel safe with you. And isn't that true strength? Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that embraces. Not the kind that controls, but the kind that understands. You have the ability to enter someone's heart without forcing your way in, to hold space for their stories without interrupting their silence. Sometimes you may doubt yourself. You may ask, why do I feel everything so deeply? But what if feeling is your superpower? What if your softness isn't something to be fixed, but something the world is quietly starving for? Cancer, Your intuition is not just a whisper, it's a compass. And it's always been right there. Even when your mind didn't understand, your heart already knew. Cancer. Healing doesn't always look like light streaming through a window. Sometimes it's the sound of your own breath when the world has gone silent. Sometimes it's a single tear on your pillow after a day where you smiled too much for others. You've been there, haven't you? Those nights when you curled inward like the crab you are, protecting the softest parts of yourself from a world that didn't understand your tenderness. And in that sacred solitude, you began to rebuild. No audience, no applause, just you and the 1,000 pieces of your heart, quietly learning how to beat again. People often mistake your stillness for weakness. They think because you retreat, you're broken. But you and I both know there's a power in disappearing to heal. There's magic in pulling away, not to escape, but to regenerate. Like the tide that vanishes from the shore, only to return stronger. Your healing was never loud. It didn't need to be. It happened in the way you started trusting yourself again, in the way you forgave people who never said sorry, in the way you learned to speak kindly to yourself on the mornings your reflection felt unfamiliar. You see, Cancer, your healing didn't ask for recognition. It only asked for patience. And my God, how beautifully you answered. You didn't rush the pain. You didn't shame your sensitivity. You just held space for your own becoming. And that is the bravest thing anyone can do. Cancer, how do you know it's time to open your heart again? Is it the way a certain song makes your chest ache in a softer way than it used to? Is it how someone's presence doesn't make you flinch but feel safe? Is it when your own laughter surprises you mid-conversation, like a light peeking through clouds? After heartbreak, after trust torn apart like fragile lace, you swore you'd never let anyone in again. You told yourself, no more open doors, no more exposed softness. But healing has a rhythm of its own. It whispers, not demands. It gently taps on the shell you built around your heart, not to shatter it, but to ask, is it safe now? And slowly, tentatively, you begin to say yes. Maybe it's in the way you start replying to messages instead of ignoring them. Maybe it's allowing someone to see you without your emotional makeup on, raw, real, still healing. Cancer, when you begin to open again, it's not because you've forgotten the pain. It's because you finally believe that love doesn't have to hurt to be real. You realize that vulnerability isn't a trap, it's a gift. You no longer confuse emotional intensity with loyalty. You begin to recognize softness in others as a reflection of your own. You stop proving your worth through overgiving and start asking, can you meet me where I am gently? And the most beautiful part? You no longer chase love to feel complete. You open to it because you already are, already whole, already enough, already home within yourself. This is where your rebirth begins. There was a time, dear Cancer, when connection felt like a battlefield. You moved carefully, like tiptoeing on glass, afraid that the next step might reopen old wounds. But something is shifting now, not because the world has changed, but because you have. You no longer search for safety in others. You've built it within yourself. You no longer seek validation from the crowd. You've found it in your own reflection. So now, when you re-enter the world, you don't do it to prove anything. You do it because you want to share your light. You smile at the barista, not because it's polite, but because their eyes remind you of gentler days. You speak up in conversation, not to be heard, but because your truth finally matters to you. You let people see the real you, the awkward pauses, the deep thoughts, the silent kindness you pour into the little things. You don't need to explain why you cried at the full moon, or why old songs still make you pause mid-sentence. You just allow it. You start to trust in small ways. A shared laugh, a steady gaze, a friend who shows up without being asked. This is not naive hope. This is earned trust. It's the quiet bravery of letting life in again. And it's radiant. Cancer, you're not asking the world to fix you anymore. You're offering your presence, your empathy, your wisdom carved through waves of grief and resilience. You walk into rooms, not to disappear, but to be present. You reach out, not to cling, but to connect. You have become the safe space you once longed to find in others. And now, you're offering it back to those who are ready to meet you where you stand. Soft, real, and unafraid. Cancer, you've always had a gift. It lived inside you like a whisper, a gentle knowing that you often dismissed as coincidence. But now, after the healing, the solitude, the reawakening, that whisper has become a voice, clear, deep, unmistakable. This is your intuition. It doesn't shout. It resonates. You no longer need proof to trust what you feel, because you've walked through storms that logic couldn't explain, and still your heart knew which way to turn. Now, you notice the shift in a room before a word is spoken. You feel someone's truth beneath their smile. You sense when to stay and when to leave with grace. This isn't paranoia. This is presence. You no longer force connections. You read them. You read energy like a language written just for you. In glances, in pauses, in the vibration between words. You've become the mirror no one can lie to. And sometimes, yes, it's overwhelming. Feeling so deeply, so completely. It's like standing at the edge of the ocean at night. Waves crashing secrets into your soul. But this is your strength. You are not too much, Cancer. You are precisely tuned. Others may call it sensitivity. You know it as sacred intelligence. It helps you protect your peace. It helps you guide those you love. It helps you create from a place deeper than thought, more ancient than memory. And when you're alone, it's not loneliness. It's communion with your own knowing. So tonight, when something tugs at your heart, pause, breathe, listen. Your spirit is speaking. Don't brush it aside this time. You're not imagining things. You're remembering. Remembering who you were before the world told you to stop feeling. Before you were taught to explain everything instead of sensing it. Now, you're reclaiming that truth. And it's guiding you home to the most honest version of yourself. Cancer, you were never meant to just feel. You were meant to translate those feelings into light. Your emotions, once heavy tides crashing through your chest, now begin to shape themselves into meaning, into wisdom, into an inner compass more reliable than logic ever was. You don't just react anymore. You respond with empathy laced in clarity, with compassion that still holds boundaries. This is your evolution. You are no longer a sponge for the world's chaos. You are a filter, a healer, a mirror that reflects the truth but doesn't absorb the pain. You understand now that your emotions are not weakness. They are information. They're not storms to survive. They're currents guiding you toward alignment. You begin to see patterns in your own behavior. You begin to forgive the child within you who was just trying to feel safe. You begin to speak your truth, not with trembling lips, but with steady grace. Where once you felt drained by others, now you recognize when it's not your burden to carry. Where once you tried to fix everything, now you simply hold space. And that's more powerful than any solution. People start coming to you, not just for comfort, but for insight. They sense that you know something, that you see them without judgment, that you hear what they're not saying. Because you've walked through your own darkness and turned it into language, You've cried oceans and named each wave. You've listened to the silence between heartbeats and found guidance in their rhythm. That's the magic of Cancer, turning pain into poetry, turning vulnerability into vision. You are the keeper of emotional alchemy. And though your armor may look soft, your heart now holds the wisdom of 1,000 full moons. Trust it. You've earned every ounce of it. Cancer, can you feel it now? The quiet call that rises not from the outside world, but from the depth of your own being. It doesn't roar, it whispers. But oh, how it trembles through your bones when you finally listen. You weren't just born to feel, you were born to guide, to stand at the edge of the emotional realm and become the bridge between the heart and the heavens. Your intuition is not a quirk, it's a calling. The way you read between the lines, sense shifts in the atmosphere, feel the unsaid. That's a spiritual gift. And now, that gift is asking to be used. Perhaps it's through healing. Perhaps it's through creating. Perhaps it's simply through being there, in a way no one else can. But this is no longer about surviving your sensitivity. It's about letting it become a compass for your sacred work in the world. The High Priestess and the Queen of Cups join you here. They do not rush. They do not shout. They simply sit, anchored in grace, radiating truth. They remind you, you don't need a grand platform. You are the platform. When you speak from the heart, people stop and listen. When you show your wounds, others find the courage to face their own. You begin to realize that your presence itself is medicine, that you don't have to do more. You just have to be more you. And that is enough. That is always enough. Even the moon, your celestial mother, doesn't try to be the sun. She reflects. She reveals. She watches the tides, and she trusts the timing. Cancer, you are being asked now to trust yours. This new chapter is not about losing yourself in others. It's about rising within yourself, so that others may find the strength to rise too. You are no longer the seeker. You are becoming the light others seek. Let that truth land. Let it settle into your bones. And when you're ready, you'll know exactly where to go. Cancer, you've walked with me through the shadows of your past, the ache of your tenderness, and the quiet magic of your spirit. Now, here you are, not broken, not fragile, but transformed. You have learned that sensitivity is not a wound, but a language. And you speak it with fluency, with grace, with sacred intention. The moon may wax and wane, but she never disappears. Just as your heart may retreat into silence sometimes, but it never stops shining. You are allowed to take your time, to feel your way forward, to heal at your own rhythm. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. And as we close this chapter, you are not stepping away from who you were. You are simply stepping deeper into who you were always meant to be. You are the ocean vast, sacred and uncontainable. You are the tide, ever moving, ever whispering ancient truths beneath your breath. Do not rush to know all the answers. You are here to live the questions, to let your softness ripple through this harsh world. Like a lullaby the earth has forgotten how to sing. So breathe. Close your eyes if you need to. Put your hand over your heart. Feel its steady, unyielding beat. It has brought you this far, and it will carry you further still. There is nothing more to prove, nothing more to hide. Just this moment, just your truth, just your radiant, vulnerable, beautiful self. And that is always more than enough. Thank you for walking this path today. You are seen, you are held, you are deeply, deeply loved. Until the next time, stay soft, stay open, stay whole.